Hello Pisces friends, I'm Annie Botticelli and welcome to my Pisces May 2021 Astrology Must-Knows Horoscope Report. May is when things really start sizzling because we have now officially entered eclipse season. Lots of major changes ahead. We also have Mercury Retrograde this month. That means the first half of the month is going to be very different than the second half of the month, and those Taurus planets definitely affect Pisces in different ways than the Gemini transits that they will transition into as the month goes on. So we're going to cover all of this in this video so that I can help prepare you to make the most of this magical month that can really be a major game changer. So let's break it all down now. The first thing that I want to talk about has to do with the things that Pisces has to celebrate. Each month we have a complex picture of the astrological movements because we have so many different moving parts. All of those moving parts are making different types of mathematical angles with each of our placements, and they activate things in our lives. And so it is very complicated, it is very complex. We are so much more than just our sun sign, and I try to factor as much as possible without being too overwhelming in these reports. So that is my goal. And there are always going to be things to celebrate and things to watch out for and ways that we have opportunities to make lemonade. That's just the way life is. That's just the way each month is. And that is what we're going to talk about. So the first thing, let's talk about the things to celebrate. As the planets, the personal planets, the ones that move quicker, move through Taurus, this is really great for Pisces. This is very grounding, and you will have elements of this happening all month, but you'll experience this more strongly in April and then in the earlier parts of May. Okay, so the earlier parts of May for Pisces still have lots of strong grounding elements, things where it could be very soothing for you. If you just kind of imagine and take it back to the play, the combination of the elements. Okay, so Taurus placements are earth signs. Pisces placements are water signs. These are very complementary. And you will feel this, okay? So places where your Pisces energy might have spun out a little bit emotionally or gotten disorganized or gotten, a little bit harder to manage, Earth planets always give an opportunity to Pisces placements to ground in. And that's very exciting. So you might see some things gelling for you in a major way in this April into May time frame. Things that you had been just thinking about or feeling, you might notice are taking shape around you. It's a very exciting time for that. Something else that's also a must-know for Pisces to celebrate this month is that your second house of Taurus is going to be accentuated in a big way. So the sign of Taurus is happening through the planetary movement, but also the house, the field of experience of Taurus, is going to be highlighted in your chart. And so this brings lots of opportunities for things about money. Everybody loves to talk about money, right? Unless they're having money issues, in which case this period of time can definitely offer solutions to the problems that you have. For every problem, there is a solution sitting on the other side somewhere to be found. And the reason we know this is because this is a planet of duality. There's right, there's wrong, there's, dark, there's light, there's day, there's night. Where we can see the evidence of the duality, the dual plane that we're on in our daily experience. And we can see this at play with the dynamics between the signs and in every area of our lives. So if you have a problem, that's good news because, it's not good news you have a problem, but what's good news is that there is a solution somewhere. You becoming a vibrational match for that solution is what's going to link you up with it. And at this particular time, money and your self-sufficiency and your savings and how your sustainability, whether that's emotionally sustainable, whether your relationships are sustainable, whether the amount of work you're doing is sustainable, just the topic of sustainability from the environmental standpoint as well, but just on an energetic level, is how you are in relationship sustainable? Is it making you bonkers? Are you exhausted? Is that working out? Yes or no? What ways can it be improved? Anything that has to do with making your dynamics and your interactions with money and everything else something that can keep moving in a way that's not just putting you behind and putting you in debt and draining you. So that's an exciting thing. Now, sometimes the way that we have the chance for solutions comes through problems. And so this is a big call out for Pisces, and there are multiple ways I want to bring this in for Pisces at this time, is that a perspective changes everything. Okay, so if you start to view problems as a teapot without a lid, you just have to find the lid. Everything is in perspective. So when you change your perspective, you can change how you experience something. And this is really how, you're going to be able to make lemonade out of any challenges that come, and how you're going to be able to also best utilize the opportunities that come. So anything having to do with earning more money can definitely come up, asking the questions of what you can do to earn more money in the future. But you might also just see a boom to your income. And I have seen that happen many, many, many times when this sector of the chart is accentuated, that just more money comes in. Now, it does also happen that often more money goes out. And sometimes that's because it comes in one hand and you're like, oh, I'm going to buy something. Or, you owe something and then it comes in and it gets balanced out. But it's definitely a big money time, and it's a big time to ask those types of questions. Something else to celebrate for Pisces placements is that new moon in Taurus at 21 degrees on May 11th. So we talked about how those Taurus placements make this nice angle with Pisces placements. And so that can be an extra special time for you, that certain things get grounded in a big way, all along the ideas of the things we've been talking about for Taurian energies. And all of you have a chance to have beautiful blessings from that, but especially those of you closer to 21 degrees. Okay, so we'll put you in like the 16 degree through 26 degrees and the closer to 21 degrees if you're watching for your moon or rising or sun. Of course, these reports are for you regardless of which Pisces placement you're watching for. And that equates to about, let's see, March 5th through March 15th. And the closer to like March 11th that your birthday is, then the more blessings that you would get from that. Something else that's great for celebrating for Pisces at this time is that the planet Mars, that rules oomph and energy and how we use our energy, is in the complementary sign of Cancer. And that's actually even more positive in some ways than even this wonderful dynamic between earth and water, because it's speaking your language. Okay, I always talk about this. Everything is a language. Astrology is its own language. We think about different languages, like different ethnicities, different languages, but everything has its language. And astrology is a language, and within its language there are sub-languages, and each planet speaks a language. Each element speaks a language. So Pisces understands the language of water. So when planets are moving through the signs that are water signs, they're speaking your language. And Mars doesn't usually speak your language because Mars is a fire energy by nature. It's the natural ruler of Aries. And its very being doesn't really speak to you. But when it's in a water sign, it's softened and translated into a language you can better understand. So you might have an easier time figuring out ways to get your energy levels up, ways that you can do less work and have more outcome or gains, things like that. Okay, let's see. So some things to watch out for this month are, as the planets move into Gemini, that's a completely different profile for you. Air doesn't speak the same language as water, and it doesn't speak your, Piscean language. So that can sometimes lead to feeling like situations where there's two ships passing in the night where you're like, whoa, not connecting, trying to make it connect, not connecting. And some of those situations may get resolved, but some of those situations might be speaking to you, telling you that there might be some bigger actions to be taken. Now, if you have to take a big action, an engagement, leaving a job, anything having to do with a launch or a move, there's much stronger energy for those types of big things that need oomph and momentum in the first half of the month. The second half of the month, we start to go into Mercury Retrograde. Mercury Retrograde is a time when plans get called into question. It's a time where flexibility is necessary. And that's another keynote for everyone, and especially for Pisces at this time, is that the more flexible that you can be as the month goes on, especially the second half of the month, the more you might be able to just plug in to the rhythm that's there. We have our most problems that come in life from resistance. And so if you know that there are discordant energies and you just don't resist them, sometimes that's all it takes to just have an easier time with it. So Mercury going into retrograde is going to start to call plans into question. It's going to make you question decisions you made prior. It might cause you to revamp or regroup. And it's more of an internal energy. You know, the other energy, like from mid-March through mid-May, is just like, boom, blow things out into the world, launch, do all your stuff, make all your plans, take all your big actions. And then the second half is more pulling back in. And in some ways, even though the Gemini energies are not as naturally connecting with you, one of the languages that will connect with you is the language of retrograde, because being quiet, being internal, taking some personal space, taking care of your private space, you know, pulling in from other people's energies is a language that the Mercury retrograde will speak. And that is a language that Pisces understands. Okay, so if you feel yourself, you know, getting overstimulated by all of the action that's occurring between mid-March and mid-May, then you might welcome the retrograde, because it's an excuse to pull in. It's an excuse to keep your plans light. It's an excuse to not say yes to things that people are offering for you to do, or for you to leave things flexible. And that gives you more space to kind of pull your empathic energy field that soaks everything up into a space where you can get your center back again. Now, the two big ways to make lemonade this month are going to be, one is called Standing Mountain. It's actually a yoga pose. You can look this up. I healed plantar fasciitis with this pose, partly with this pose. It was recommended to me by a great friend of mine. Her name is Celeste. She's an amazing body worker and just transformational coach in Sedona. And she, when I was having these troubles, she showed me the Standing Mountain pose, and she said, even when you're sitting, just kind of like spread your feet out like a web, you know, like a duck, like duck feet, and just hold all of the points of your feet onto the ground. And I started doing that, even though I couldn't really imagine why that would heal anything. I just trusted it, and I did it, and I healed twice. Sometimes pregnancies can bring plantar fasciitis. If you're in that situation, mamas, where your feet are bothering you after you've had babies, this pose can be especially helpful, and it's something that you can take with you as a life practice as a Pisces, because Pisces rules the feet. So whenever you start feeling swirled around, remember also Pisces swings in a mutable way, meaning it spins. Okay, Pisces is mutable. It's over here, it's over here, it's over here, which means it's very open and very inclusive. That's wonderful. One of the very wonderful traits about Pisces is it tends to have this amazing inclusivity, where it just empathically can understand everybody's plight. And so it has compassion. You know, the energy brings compassion. And so, but that can be very dizzying emotionally to go through the roller coasters of other people's experience. And so grounding your feet in can help you to not be blown away, can keep you to have, you know, having your center, can keep you focused and feeling solid in an ever-changing world with people's ever-changing moods and your ever-changing flow. So that's one way to make lemonade this month and beyond. And the second way is back to this perspective, okay? So the eclipse is going to hit, and we're going to talk at length about the eclipses, okay? I'm going to go into that next. But the perspective thing is the most important thing, because the glasses that you look at life through will change the experience that you have. I want to give you a really cute example from my life, something that my son said to me one time. Okay, so it was that magical first day that he noticed that I had a white silver hair. And so he was like, wow, I had seen it before he did. I knew they were there. They don't really show up on camera, but they're there. So he said, wow, Mom, I just saw a streak of pure moonlight in your hair. Isn't that wonderful? I mean, could you imagine if every person going through the process of aging would be able to think of the white silver hairs that show up as streaks of pure moonlight? Who wouldn't want to have a streak of pure moonlight in their hair, right? And so I got to see that through his eyes and that perspective. And that, I mean, I wasn't particularly put off about it anyway, but the aging process, but it definitely comes to my mind all the time when I notice if I have any moment where I'm like, oh gosh, there they are. They're streaks of pure moonlight. So the more you can turn any silver hairs that come into your experience now and forever into, and whatever your version of that is at this time, into the viewpoint of, the streaks of pure moonlight, it's really going to help you to have a better experience, have a more positive experience, and feel like you're supported in your journey. And that's very much what the evolution of Pisces is about, is to remember that you have a grounding cord. You can focus on your grounding cord. You have a perspective. You can shift your perspective, and you can be ready for whatever comes. Okay, so now let's dive deep into these eclipses. The reason why I focus so much on eclipses during eclipse time is because they bring radical change, crazy trajectory shifts where you're going in one direction, then all of a sudden, almost overnight, you're heading in a completely different direction, dramatic endings, exciting new beginnings, clearing up of karma in a major way where you feel like, wow, something has occurred and now certain patterns are just behind you, and brand new ways of being open up. It's a very exciting time. It can also be a very stressful time, and some of the changes that come are not welcome. Some of the changes that come are things that you've been trying to manifest for sometimes your whole life. And so it's just a very, very powerful time of extreme energies. The principle in physics that talks about matter never being created nor destroyed, that it simply changes form, is very evident at eclipse time. And we can see it happening in some common things, like for instance, a grandparent passes away and a grandchild is born, or something notable goes on like that type of thing. Somebody retires, but then they start their post-retirement new project, and it's like the energy of what is removed doesn't leave. It just changes into this other form in this brilliant new beginning. And so you will either be a person who is having that happen in this, especially May-June timeframe, or you'll be a person who's watching people around you have crazy things going on, and in some cases holding space for them, because it can be, even positive changes can be pretty stressful or a lot to take in as you're going through a major transition. And a lot of times, if you're not the person going through that change, you're holding space for the other person, meaning you're there for them, you're holding their hand through it, or you're assisting them in some way. You can usually tell if you're going to be the person who's going through the changes or the person holding the space by the degree to which the sign and degree of the eclipse hits your personal planets. But since we have so many personal planets, we can't do that justice in general readings, but we can talk about some of that, which I tend to do, in the horoscopes. But some people go through both of it, where they're holding space for other people who are going through a lot, and they themselves are going through a lot of change. Okay, so those are some must-knows. Now, just to give you a little perspective about this particular eclipse cycle, the Sagittarius-Gemini eclipse cycle. The last time we had this eclipse cycle was March 2011 through August 2012. And now it started again on May 2020 through January 2022. So it doesn't mean that everything that happened between March 2011 and August 2012 will occur again. It means that the things that occurred in that time that were related to the signs or houses that were accented for you are going to be themes that come up again. If something bad happened then, it doesn't mean something bad will happen now. It's just the areas of life that are activated, which of course I'm talking more about in, this May and June report to tell you what areas of life will be active for you from the perspective of your sun or rising or whatever you're watching for. But in general, you can think back to that time and then notice what similar themes started to come up again around May of 2020 that have been going on. Now, the other must know about eclipses is it's like an eclipse cycle has several periods of time where there is the eclipse season, where everything gets heated up and right in the forefront, and then it kind of fades into the backdrop. And then the eclipse season happens again every 6 months. This goes on, and then it heats up, and then it kind of fades in the backdrop. So you'll also have noticed that whatever themes have come up for you, we had things that came up May, June, July of 2020. It's kind of like a pot boiling. The eclipses in the astrological perspective are not like they are in the astronomical perspective. From the astronomical perspective, they happen at that time and they're done. From the astrological perspective, there's this cycle that's working in the backdrop, and it's working on areas of your life, and it's active, and then it fades in the backdrop, and it's active. Okay, so this is how I like to see this, is that in May of last year, of 2020, we had the heat go up. And then in June and July, it was like a rapid boil. And then you took the heat off, and then it kind of like faded out into the backdrop. And then in November and December of 2020, the heat was on again. But then, in January and then into February, March, April, we're like kind of down where the heat is off. Now, towards the end of April, the heat started coming on again of this 2021, and then May and June, we're at a full boil again with the eclipses. Then into July, it sort of starts to fade back down with the heat taken off into the backdrop. And then towards the end of the year, we'll have our final Gemini Sagittarius heat up and then fade out into January 2022 rather. And it will be done, and we'll be on to the next cycle. Okay, so in general, anything involving cars, transportation, including, guarding yourself while you're driving. You have to be extra careful during Gemini and Sagittarius eclipse cycles, because it tends to highlight transportation. And so that can bring, accidents or things with cars or vehicles or walking or your mobility. You don't have to be afraid. It's just to become more aware. So anything having to do with how we share information and how we take in information and how we share it. Education, we can see since last year, we thought that it was COVID that did this, right? But it was really a part of an astrological cycle that was bringing the topic of education and how we are getting educated into the forefront. So now we have new breakthroughs and new storylines with how we're getting educated, kids and adults. Also, how we're commuting or not commuting to work. So you can see as of, the spring of 2020, the fall for those of you down under, and now in the spring of 2021, in the fall for those of you down under, where we're back in this, okay, what are we going to do with the kids in school? Who's going to wind up staying home? What are we doing with work? People are working from home. All of this is very much related to this eclipse cycle. It's more related to this eclipse cycle than it is COVID. COVID is part of the storyline, but COVID is also astrological. And if you want more information about that, search for Annie Botticelli coronavirus and watch my very in-depth video talking about how astrological cycles are really at the source of the things that we think are related to COVID. COVID is part of the astrology, not the cause of everything that's going on. So in any case, we will see things involving international topics. Immigration has been a very hot topic since last year, especially. And we're seeing the storylines of that unfold. Anything having to do with relationships with different countries and our international business. All of that is very much related to the eclipse cycle of the Sagittarius Gemini. So all signs will be seeing those storylines heating up into the forefront. Something else that is a major must know about eclipse time and eclipses in general is that the eclipse cycle matches the North and South node transit. So for those of you who know about North and South nodes, maybe you didn't know that there was a direct relationship between the eclipse cycle and the North and South nodes. They're both running along the ecliptic. And the ecliptic is this is a very important area of focus in astrology, because this has to do with your karma and your dharma. So the difficult patterns that you brought in, whether it was through your own soul's, behaviors and journey, or whether it was through ancestral things that have gone on in your particular DNA, or whether it's the human consciousness that's undergoing evolution, all of those karmic pieces are represented in the South Node energies. And then the North Node energies speak to our highest expression in this lifetime, our highest evolution, our dharma, what we came here to do. So eclipse time always is very rich with opportunities to clear karma, clear old patterns, clear programming that's not working, and set up new wiring, solidify the trace of a suggestion that's sitting there waiting to be actualized in the form of our highest destiny, taking steps into making those pathways be solid and more of your norm. So it's very much a time where you have opportunities to step into your highest expression in major ways and let go of major old patterns and it become revitalized and have your life just opened up in ways that you've only dreamed of. So it's a very exciting time. I mean, what is there in the mind of the seeker that could be more important than stepping into your highest destiny and your highest expression this lifetime, right? And so the eclipses bring us on there, fate points, fate meetings, fate, endings, divine, destined, or fated endings, fated beginnings, things that have that sense of like, wow, this is really fated here. This is really destined. You'll feel that the energy of synchronicity moving you in these magical, ways that you can't, you have to acknowledge that, wow, obviously there's something else at work here. It's a very magical time. And it's a very intense time. And your nervous system will be under duress and you'll probably need more sleep, but it may be harder to sleep and you might need more of your nervous system support and your adrenal support. And those are ways that you can really maximize this time, because the better rested you are and the more your body has the nutrition that it needs, the easier it is for you to manage what's going on. Sometimes someone will say, well, what do these supplements and these things you talk about have to do with astrology? And in my mind, they have everything to do with astrology, because if you're trying to have the best possible experience and you know that there are intense times coming, how you experience those intense times is going to be affected tremendously by the state of your adrenals and the state of the rest of your whole nervous system and your other systems. So if they are working well and well supported, then as the stresses come, it's easier for you to step into your superhero self and have an easier experience of the challenges that come. And the challenges, like I said, could be super positive, but still challenges just the same. Like, let's say someone buys their, dream house, and that certainly could happen now. Well, the leaving of the old house, the actual move, the logistics, there is stress involved even in the best of changes. And those are the types of things that are going to be occurring in this May-June timeframe in a very big way. Okay, so now you have a great understanding of the eclipses, what to expect in general, and what the Gemini Sagittarius energies tend to bring. But I do highly recommend that you also look for my videos on those specific topics, because if you want even more information about how these eclipses might affect you, then you will want to check these out. So check out the video called Eclipses in Gemini, and you can just search for Annie Botticelli, Eclipses in Gemini. Also watch the video, Eclipses in Sagittarius. And that Eclipses in Sagittarius video is going to even take on more importance right now for this month, because most of you are going to experience the eclipse in the 9th house, which is ruled by Sagittarius. So you have double duty. Not only is the sign of Sagittarius being accented in the eclipses, which it is for everyone, but for Pisces, also the house is going to be accentuated. So most of you are going to have that eclipse in the 9th house, and that's going to bring about the things that we talked about with the Sagittarius eclipse, and then also check out my separate video on the topic. Those of you who are in the February born, early March timeframe, you also will want to watch my eclipses in Capricorn video, because that is going to be, those of you in the early parts are kind of on the line there where it's either in the 10th house or on the 10th house line, but close enough to the 9th house that it can and likely will be in both areas. Okay, so all Pisces, watch the Sag one, because that's also the house is going to be in for you. And then February born to the first few days in March, or if you're watching for your rising or your moon or some other Pisces placement, 0 to 11 degrees, also watch the eclipses in Capricorn video. And that's a very big work, father, employment, your work out in the world for those of you who are retired, what you're doing out in the world, regardless of whether it's a vocation or not. So those are the areas that are going to be highlighted for you as a Pisces, and you can see lots more information in those videos. You can find the videos on my homepage I have a playlist with them, or you can search for them individually with my name. If you would like even more information on how you can maximize the starry possibilities, click on the little arrow underneath the video that says more, and that little arrow click will reveal all the notes below the video. Most of the time that I spend working is spent doing free offerings, and you can see what all those are and get the links directly to them in the notes below the video. First thing to do is go to anniehelpsyou.com, sign up for my free email newsletter. Not only will you get my happy scopes, a sneak peek into the highlights of all of the months of 2021. Right now, you can see all of that immediately, but you'll also get a more detailed overview of each month, 1 month early, the sweet and salty dates of the aspects, what you can expect from them, and a general write-up of the month ahead delivered into your inbox 1 month early. You also get a free sign-on bonus called Shine, which is my virtual 28-day coaching program. And this is very, very, very detailed, and it can really help support you in your conscious evolution and breaking out of old patterns. So you get all of that when you sign up at anniehelpsyou.com. You'll see it right on the front page. It'll say, "Hi, friend," and then it'll have space for your name and email address. The next thing to make sure to do is go to my school, lumelife.com, L-U-M-E life.com. It's Luminous Life Multiversity, and I've got free courses there, including one to help you ramp up your abundance called Unleash Your Money Magnet. You can also see my paid courses there, including my crazy comprehensive astrology program called Becoming a Professional Astrologer Mastery course. If you'd like to do astrology as part or all of your professional offering, or just become adept enough for your own process or to help other people, you will love, love, love this course, especially if you resonate with my work. And you can see that at lumelife.com, and plus the other courses there. Also, to go to cozybysweetstarlight.com. That's my other beautiful website where I and a few amazing up-and-coming bloggers that I have selected to be part of this with me are giving you amazing offerings every month, and a lot of it is astrology kissed. So herbal teas for the signs and the sun's movement, hypnosis, healing frequencies for each sign. You'll love this site. It's called cozybysweetstarlight.com. Then also, don't forget about my books. I write books as well. I've got a book called Radical Prayer, Transform Your Life and the World in 28 Days. And this is a beautiful book of prayers and affirmations that you can use over a moon cycle or however you're drawn to use it. Then my very, very in-depth book called Planetology, How to Align with the Natural Rhythms of the Universe. And it does exactly that. So it's a very detailed, long, comprehensive book to help you align with the starry rhythms. And another very exciting thing that I want to share this month is it's the month of my boy, Seamus. We call him Seamus Blue Moon. It's his birthday in May, and he is having some offerings that are starting to come out. So you can see some work of his artwork in the link below. In the future, you will see him teaching courses at my school. He's working on a course now. So he's also a rune master, an amazing reader of runes. So you'll start to see more by him coming soon. And so this is his beautiful launch into the public. So you can check out some of his artwork in the link below in the More button. So I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye.